As title after awakening, now what? The truth about losing drive. There comes a time in every soul's journey when the world that once glittered with ambition begins to dim. The things that used to excite you, the goals that used to drive you, the plans that filled your mind, all of it suddenly feels distant, almost meaningless. You wake up one day after what you thought was a great spiritual awakening, expecting light and clarity, and instead you feel stillness, a strange emptiness where your fire used to be. You look around and wonder, what happened to me? Where did my motivation go? But maybe, just maybe, this loss is not a failure. Maybe it's a sign of something far deeper unfolding within you. Before awakening, your motivation came from striving, from the chase to become someone, to achieve something, to prove your worth. Every action was tied to an identity you were trying to strengthen or a future you were trying to control. Awakening shatters that illusion. It reveals that the you who was chasing was never the real you. It tears away the masks, the expectations, the endless noise that defined your sense of purpose. So when all of that falls away, of course, the old motivation disappears. You can't run the same race once you've realized it leads nowhere. What you're left with in that space of stillness is truth, raw and silent. The ego mourns its own disappearance. It doesn't know how to live without striving. You might feel lost, even depressed. But what's actually happening is a deep purification. Life is asking you to stop running so that you can finally be. The emptiness that follows awakening isn't a void to fear. It's the sacred pause between who you were and who you're becoming. As this silence stretches on, many begin to question, if I'm not here to chase, then what am I supposed to do? That's the moment when the old drive, the restless, anxious energy that once fueled you, begins to give way to something new. Slowly, subtly, purpose begins to take on a different meaning. There comes a time after the storm of awakening and the long silence of the void when something begins to stir deep within, not as a rush of ambition, not as a craving for direction, but as a quiet whisper. It's not loud or urgent like the old drive that once fueled you. It's soft, organic, almost imperceptible at first. This is the beginning of true purpose. Not the kind of purpose that the world praises or the ego fabricates, but the kind that arises naturally, effortlessly from the depth of your being. For so long, you were told that purpose was something to chase, something to define, something to conquer. Society teaches us to measure worth by productivity, to measure meaning by achievement. We grow up thinking that life's highest goal is to find your purpose, as if it's an object hidden somewhere outside of us, waiting to be discovered after enough searching, enough learning, enough struggle. But awakening flips that belief on its head. It shows you that purpose is not found through striving, it emerges through surrender. When you let go of forcing your life into meaning, when you stop grasping for identity and success, a new kind of clarity begins to appear. It doesn't arrive as a thunderbolt revelation. It doesn't shout, "This is your mission." Instead, it comes as a gentle alignment, an inner knowing that certain things feel right, feel true, feel alive, even if they don't fit any grand narrative. You begin to notice small impulses that pull you toward authenticity, a desire to create something beautiful, to help someone in quiet ways, to spend time in nature, to speak truth, even when no one applauds. These impulses are the first whispers of genuine purpose. The difference between the old drive and this new one is subtle but profound. The old drive was built on, "I must." The new one is built on, "I am." The old drive screamed, "I need to do this to become someone." The new one whispers, "I am already whole." And this action simply expresses that wholeness. You're no longer acting out of deficiency, you're moving from fullness. The energy feels lighter, freer, more joyful. You're not pushing life anymore, you're letting life flow through you. In this stage, your relationship with doing completely transforms. You begin to understand that doing is not separate from being, that every act can become an extension of your consciousness. Whether you're creating art, raising a child, serving food, teaching healing, or simply walking, it all becomes sacred when it's aligned with presence. Purpose stops being about what you achieve and becomes about how you exist while you do it. At first, the ego resists this simplicity. It will whisper, "But this can't be enough. Where's the grand plan? Where's the success story?" That's because the ego doesn't understand authenticity. It thrives on comparison and significance. But the spirit doesn't care about being significant, it only cares about being true. The quieter you become, the more you can hear that truth guiding you, not toward status or recognition, but toward peace and coherence. As this new purpose unfolds, you might find that what once felt important suddenly loses all weight. The career path you thought defined you may no longer fit. The relationships that once seemed essential may start to drift. The goals that used to keep you awake at night may feel hollow. This can be disorienting because the ego interprets it as loss. But in reality, it's liberation. You're shedding everything that was built on false meaning to make space for what is real. And what's real often begins very small. True purpose doesn't burst forth as a dramatic calling. It emerges like dawn, soft and gradual. It starts with what's in front of you. The people you meet, the work you do, the kindness you give, all of it becomes your path when approached with awareness. You begin to see that purpose isn't something separate from daily life. It's woven into every moment. It's not somewhere else, waiting. It's here, asking to be lived. When you stop forcing purpose, you also stop comparing it. You realize that everyone's expression of truth is unique. Some are called to serve on grand stages. Others express their purpose in the quiet care of a family, in the nurturing of a garden, in the creation of music, in the healing of hearts. There is no hierarchy in authenticity. The universe doesn't measure purpose by scale. It measures it by sincerity. What matters is not how much you do, but how deeply you do it, how honestly you live it, how fully you embody it. And the more you live in alignment with this authenticity, the more life seems to align with you. Synchronicities appear, doors open in unexpected places. The right people, opportunities, and moments seem to meet you halfway. You realize that purpose is not something you control, it's something you cooperate with. When you move with the rhythm of life, instead of against it, everything begins to flow with ease. You're no longer swimming upstream. You're moving with the current of your own being. This doesn't mean that challenges disappear. In fact, purpose will often call you into discomfort. But the difference is that now you move through challenges with clarity instead of fear. You no longer interpret struggle as failure. You see it as refinement. Each obstacle becomes a sculptor's hand, shaping you into a clearer instrument of your truth. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What is this teaching me?" A living from true purpose also brings a deep humility. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth through outcomes. You begin to see yourself as part of something vast and interconnected, a thread in the great tapestry of existence. You realize that every act, no matter how small, contributes to the whole. A smile to a stranger, a word of encouragement, a moment of listening, all of it matters. All of it is purpose in motion. And as this realization takes root, your sense of separation begins to dissolve. You stop seeing yourself as a door trying to change the world and start recognizing yourself as a vessel through which the world expresses itself. The energy that once went into striving now flows into service. not because you're obligated, but because it feels natural. Giving becomes receiving. Helping becomes healing. Action becomes meditation. There's a quiet joy in this way of living, not the high of achievement, but the steady glow of fulfillment. You wake each day not asking, at worst, what should I do? But cheers, what wants to move through me today? And you trust that whatever comes, whether grand or ordinary, is sacred. You begin to see that your life itself is the purpose, that every breath, every gesture, every moment of awareness is part of the unfolding expression of consciousness through form. There comes a moment after all the questioning, the silence, the stillness, when you begin to see that everything, the loss of motivation, the confusion, the emptiness, the rediscovery of purpose has been leading you toward one simple truth balance. Spiritual awakening strips away illusions, yes, but it doesn't erase your humanity. It doesn't demand that you reject the world or abandon the life you once knew. It invites you to live differently, not as someone chasing meaning, but as someone embodying it. Balance begins when you realize that neither extreme, the restless striving of the past, nor the passive detachment that can follow awakening, is your home. Both were necessary teachers. One showed you the limits of ambition, the other showed you the emptiness of withdrawal. Now, you are being called to walk the middle path, to live in the world, but not be of it, to act, but not be enslaved by action, to care deeply, yet remain at peace no matter the outcome. As this understanding deepens, you start to see the sacred in everything. Work becomes meditation. Rest becomes prayer. Relationships become mirrors, reflecting your growth. Challenges become opportunities to embody patience and wisdom. Every moment becomes a teacher, every breath a bridge between the infinite and the immediate. You begin to live not in pursuit of enlightenment, but as an expression of it. And it's in this living balance between the light of awareness and the shadow of imperfection that life regains its meaning. You realize that you were never meant to retreat into eternal stillness or lose yourself in endless activity. You were meant to dance between them, to be fully here, fully human, yet inwardly free. So when the noise fades, when the ambition quiets, and when the world no longer pulls you with the same intensity it once did, remember this: you are not lost. You are awakening to a different rhythm, a deeper current that moves not from desire, but from truth. The loss of motivation was never a sign of weakness. It was the soul's way of clearing space for something purer to arise. You see, life after awakening isn't about escaping the world or rising above it. It's about walking through it with open eyes and an open heart. It's about meeting each moment with the grace of someone who knows that peace doesn't come from achievement, but from alignment. The real journey isn't upward toward some distant enlightenment. It's inward toward the still center within you, and then outward again, carrying that stillness into everything you touch. And when you live that way, when your doing flows from being, when your purpose rises from presence, you discover a quiet joy that no success can grant and no failure can take away. You realize that awakening was never meant to end your story. It was meant to begin a new one written not by the ego's hunger, but by the soul's knowing. So breathe deeply, step gently, let your life unfold with both strength and softness. Because in the end, the truth about losing drive is that you never truly lost it. You simply outgrew the kind that was never yours and made space for a greater one to take its place, the drive to live, love, and serve from the heart of awareness itself.